The signal. Commander Sarah Chen stared at the holographic display, her dark eyes reflecting the pulsing red anomaly that shouldn't exist. The Deep Space Monitoring Array had never detected anything like it before. A massive gravitational distortion moving in a coordinated pattern across the Kuiper Belt. Her hands trembled slightly as she cross-referenced the data for the fifth time. "Dr. Walsh," she called out, her voice steadied despite her racing heart. "I need you to verify these readings." The aging astrophysicist shuffled over, his weathered face illuminated by the stark light of Luna Base's observation deck. He adjusted his glasses, a rare antiquity in 2157, and leaned in close to the display. The color drained from his face. "This is impossible," he whispered. "The energy requirements for a distortion field of this magnitude." He trailed off, running calculations through his neural interface. "We're looking at the power output of a small star." Sarah nodded grimly. "And it's not alone." She expanded the display, revealing dozens of similar signatures, all moving in perfect formation. "Whatever this is, it's organized. And it's heading straight for us." Within hours, the Luna Base observation deck transformed into a crisis center. The United Earth Defense Council materialized one by one through quantum projection, their translucent forms arranged in a semicircle around the holographic display. Sarah stood at attention, her formal uniform feeling unnecessarily stiff as she prepared to brief the most powerful people on Earth. "Counselors," she began, 18 hours ago, our Deep Space Monitoring Array detected what we initially believed to be a sensor malfunction." She gestured, and the hologram shifted to show the approaching anomalies. "Further analysis has confirmed that we are observing a fleet of vessels using some form of advanced gravitational manipulation for propulsion. Based on their current trajectory and velocity, they will reach Earth orbit in approximately 72 hours. The council chamber erupted in whispers. Admiral Zhang, a decorated veteran of the Mars Rebellion, leaned forward. "Commander Chen, what are your preliminary threat assessments?" Sarah took a deep breath. "The technology we're observing surpasses our current capabilities by at least several centuries. A single vessel in their fleet could potentially generate enough energy to power all of Earth for a year, if their intentions are hostile." She let the implications hang in the air. "And we have no way of communicating with them." Counselor Patel's hologram flickered as she spoke. "We've attempted standard first contact protocols on all known frequencies," Sarah replied. "They've acknowledged none of our transmissions. However," she paused, bringing up a new data set, "we have detected what appears to be a continuous broadcast emanating from the fleet. Our AI linguistics team just completed their preliminary analysis." Dr. Walsh stepped forward, clearing his throat. "The message repeats in over 1,000 different languages, none of them Earth-based. We believe it's some form of standard greeting or declaration. The AI has managed to decode approximately 3% of it, but one phrase appears consistently across all variations." He tapped his neural interface, and a series of alien glyphs appeared above the holographic fleet. Roughly translated, Sarah continued, it reads, "Submit to the hegemony." The council chamber fell silent. Humanity had dreamed of first contact for generations, but not like this. Not with an armada carrying a demand for submission. Admiral Zhang was the first to speak. "Commander Chen, what are our options?" Sarah straightened her shoulders. Conventional military response would be suicide. Their technology is too advanced. However, she brought up a new hologram, showing a prototype that had been her team's closely guarded secret for the past 5 years. Project Lighthouse might give us a fighting chance. The prototype rotated slowly in the air. A network of satellites unlike anything humanity had ever constructed. "We've been developing a way to manipulate the quantum fabric of space itself," Sarah explained. "Originally intended for faster-than-light communication, but with some modifications. It could be weaponized." Admiral Zhang finished, his eyes narrowing as he studied the design. "Not exactly," Sarah corrected, "but it could give us an advantage they won't expect." The hegemony clearly believes they're approaching a primitive civilization that will either submit or be easily conquered. They're not prepared for a species that has learned to bend the laws of physics. Counselor Pyle leaned forward. How quickly can it be deployed? With a global effort, 72 hours. Barely enough time before they arrive. The council members exchanged glances. They all understood the gravity of the situation. The entire human race balanced on a knife's edge. Admiral Zhang stood, his hologram towering over the others. Commander Chen, you have full authorization. Whatever resources you need, they're yours. Humanity will not submit without showing the hegemony exactly what they're dealing with. Sarah nodded, already calculating the monumental task ahead. As the council members winked out one by one, she turned to Dr. Walsh. Get me a direct line to every major research facility on Earth and Mars, and contact Director Pham at the Quantum Forge. She allowed herself a small, determined smile. We're about to remind the galaxy why you should never underestimate human ingenuity. Outside the observation deck's windows, Earth hung like a jewel in the void, blissfully unaware of the approaching storm. Humanity had just 72 hours to prepare for the greatest challenge in its history. But Sarah Chen had no intention of letting her species face extinction without a fight. The real question was, would Project Lighthouse be enough to make even a galactic superpower think twice about threatening Earth? Project Lighthouse. The Quantum Forge sprawled across the lunar surface like a chrome spider web, its gleaming towers reflecting Earth's distant light. Inside the central hub, Director Maya Pham watched as another prototype quantum core achieved stability for precisely 2.3 seconds before dissolving into subatomic particles. Not good enough, she muttered, her augmented vision already calculating the necessary adjustments. We need minutes, not seconds. Commander Chen's hologram appeared beside her, looking as exhausted as Maya felt. Neither of them had slept in the 48 hours since the council meeting. Status report. We've achieved quantum stability in 4 of the 7 test cores, Maya replied, sending the data through their neural link. But maintaining it at the scale we need. She shook her head. The math works, Sarah. The theory is sound. We just don't have enough time to work out all the bugs. Time is the one thing the hegemony isn't giving us. Sarah's hologram walked through the simulation of Project Lighthouse, hovering in the center of the room. What if we distributed the load? Instead of trying to maintain one massive quantum field, multiple smaller fields working in concert. Maya's eyes widened as she ran the calculations. It would be like a net instead of a wall, more delicate to coordinate, but her fingers flew across invisible interfaces as she modified the design. Yes, this could work. We'd need to reconfigure the satellite network, but do it, Sarah ordered. I'll coordinate with the orbital construction teams. Her hologram flickered. The first wave of hegemony ships just passed Mars orbit. We have less than 24 hours. Maya nodded, already deep in the quantum calculations. As Sarah's hologram vanished, alerts flashed across Maya's augmented vision. Updates from every major research center on Earth and Mars. Humanity had united with unprecedented speed and determination. Political differences and old rivalries vanished in the face of extinction. The entire species worked as one, racing against time to give Earth a fighting chance. In orbit, construction drones swarmed like metallic insects, assembling the massive network of satellites that would form Project Lighthouse's physical framework. Each satellite contained one of Maya's quantum cores, designed to tap into the very fabric of space-time itself. Director Pham. Dr. Walsh's aged voice carried across the quantum link. The AI has decoded another 15% of the hegemony's message. You need to see this. Maya's breath caught as the translation appeared in her vision. Beyond the demand for submission, the message contained details about the hegemony itself. A civilization spanning thousands of galaxies, consuming resources and technology from countless conquered species. They didn't just want Earth's submission, they wanted its complete assimilation. They've done this before, she whispered. So many times they don't even consider resistance possible anymore. Her neural interface pinged with an incoming call from the orbital construction team. Director, we've completed the primary satellite ring. Beginning quantum core installation now. Maya straightened, pushing aside her horror at the hegemony's true nature. Understood. Begin synchronized power-up sequence on my mark. She opened a channel to Sarah. Commander, we're ready for the first full-scale test. In Luna Base's command center, Sarah Chen watched as Project Lighthouse came online for the first time. The satellite network glowed with artificial starlight, each quantum core pulsing in perfect harmony. On her tactical display, the hegemony fleet approached with inexorable purpose. Over 1,000 ships, each large enough to dwarf Earth's largest space stations. Power readings are stable, Maya reported. Quantum field integrity at 92% and holding. It's working, Sarah. It's actually working. Sarah allowed herself a moment of hope. Project Lighthouse wasn't a weapon in the traditional sense. Instead, it was something far more ambitious, a way to fundamentally alter the rules of physics within Earth's solar system. If it worked as designed, the hegemony's gravitational drives would find themselves operating in an environment where their own laws of physics no longer applied. All stations, report readiness, Sarah commanded, her voice carrying to every corner of human space. From Earth to Mars, from the lunar bases to the asteroid mining outposts, humanity's combined military forces stood ready. They were hopelessly outgunned by conventional standards, but conventional warfare wasn't what Sarah had in mind. 16 hours until the hegemony enters optimal range, her tactical AI reported. All Project Lighthouse satellites maintaining stable quantum fields. Sarah opened a channel to the United Earth Defense Council. Project Lighthouse is operational. Request permission to proceed with Phase 2. Admiral Zhang's response was immediate. Permission granted, Commander. Show them why they should have chosen their targets more carefully. As the hegemony fleet drew closer, Sarah couldn't help but smile. They expected to find a primitive civilization cowering in fear. Instead, they would face a species that had learned to rewrite the laws of physics itself. Humanity might be young compared to the hegemony, but they had one advantage their would-be conquerors couldn't comprehend: the audacity to attempt the impossible. Begin Phase 2, Sarah ordered. Let's give the hegemony a proper welcome to Earth. Throughout the solar system, Project Lighthouse's satellites pulsed with increasing power, preparing to turn the space around Earth into a quantum maze that would make the hegemony's technological superiority meaningless. The question wasn't whether humanity could match their raw power. It was whether they could change the game entirely. First contact. The hegemony's lead vessel emerged from gravitational drive, like a leviathan breaching dark waters. It dwarfed everything humanity had ever built, its crystalline surface refracting sunlight in impossible patterns. Behind it, hundreds of ships dropped into normal space, forming a wall of overwhelming force that stretched across Earth's sky. Commander Sarah Chen stood on Luna Base's observation deck, watching the arrival with a mix of awe and determination. Status of Project Lighthouse. All quantum fields operating at peak efficiency. Maya's voice replied through the neural link. Ready to activate on your command. The massive alien fleet hung motionless, their presence alone enough to demonstrate their technological superiority. A new transmission burst from their flagship, overwhelming every communication channel in the solar system. Primitive species of Sol 3. The message began, translated in real time by Earth's AI networks. You stand before the galactic hegemony, rulers of 1,000,000 stars. Your resistance is neither expected nor required. Submit, and you will be elevated. Resist, and you will be erased. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. They certainly don't lack for confidence. She opened a channel to all Earth forces. This is Commander Chen. All units maintain position. Do not, I repeat, do not engage unless directly ordered. The hegemony's flagship launched what appeared to be probes, sleek, crystalline objects that streaked toward Earth's atmosphere. Standard protocol for their conquest, no doubt. Study the primitive species before beginning the systematic dismantling of their civilization. They're scanning us, Dr. Walsh reported from his station. Extremely sophisticated technology. They're mapping every artificial structure in the solar system. Sarah nodded. Let them look. Maya, prepare to activate Project Lighthouse on my mark. The probes completed their survey, returning to the flagship with their data. Several tense minutes passed as the hegemony processed what they'd found. The next transmission carried a note of confusion. Your technological level is inconsistent. You possess quantum computing, yet lack basic gravity manipulation. You understand neural interfaces, but not faster than light travel. Explain these discrepancies. Sarah stepped forward, knowing the hegemony would detect her movement. This is Commander Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Forces. We are a young species, yes, but we are not primitive. We choose our own path of development, our own destiny. We will not submit. A pause, longer this time. When the response came, it carried a tone that might have been amusement. Your defiance is noted, but irrelevant. Your species will be integrated into the hegemony. Your resources will serve the greater whole. This is not a negotiation. The flagship's crystalline surface began to shift, revealing what could only be weapon emplacements. Energy readings spiked across Sarah's tactical display. They're powering up their main gravity weapons, Maya reported. If those hit Earth. They won't, Sarah interrupted. All units, prepare for Phase 2. Maya, activate Project Lighthouse. Now. Throughout the solar system, the satellite network pulsed with impossible energy. Space itself seemed to shiver as thousands of quantum fields activated in perfect synchronization. The laws of physics around Earth began to change in subtle but profound ways. The effect on the hegemony fleet was immediate. Their gravity drives flickered as they encountered spaces where their understood laws of physics no longer applied. The massive ships began to drift, their perfect formation disrupting as they struggled to maintain control. What is this? The hegemony's transmission crackled with static. Your technology cannot. This is impossible. You assumed we would fight you on your terms, Sarah replied, her voice steady. That was your first mistake. Humanity doesn't play by anyone's rules but our own. The flagship attempted to fire its gravity weapons, but in the quantum-shifted space around Earth, the carefully calibrated beams twisted and dispersed harmlessly. More ships began to drift, their advanced technology rendered unreliable by Project Lighthouse's reality warping effect. This is your final warning. Sarah continued. Leave Earth's space immediately, or we will demonstrate exactly why underestimating humanity was your second mistake. The hegemony's response was predictable. They launched fighters, smaller ships less dependent on gravity manipulation. But even these craft found themselves fighting against space itself, their pilots unable to trust their instruments in an environment where physical constants kept shifting. They're deploying some kind of countermeasure, Maya reported, trying to stabilize their local spacetime. Sarah watched as the hegemony fleet struggled to adapt, their supposed technological superiority proving worthless against humanity's audacious manipulation of reality itself. They still think this is about technology, she mused. They don't understand that humanity's greatest strength isn't our tools. It's our ability to change the rules of the game entirely. The flagship's crystalline surface rippled again, this time in what appeared to be frustration. Their next transmission contained something new, not demands or threats, but a question. What are you? Sarah's response was simple. We are human. And this is only the beginning of what we can do. Choose your next actions carefully. As the hegemony fleet hung in Earth's twisted space, their advanced technology rendered uncertain by human ingenuity, the galaxy's greatest power faced an unprecedented situation. A species that refused to be conquered, armed with the audacity to rewrite reality itself. The test. The hegemony's response came not as words, but as action. From the depths of their massive flagship emerged something new, a device that pulsed with dark energy, sending ripples through Project Lighthouse's quantum fields. They're attempting to stabilize their local spacetime. Maya's voice crackled through the neural link. These readings, they're using technology we've never seen before. Commander Sarah Chen watched as the alien fleet began to adapt, their ships gradually regaining control in the twisted space around Earth. She had expected this. The hegemony hadn't conquered thousands of civilizations by being inflexible. All stations, prepare for Phase 3, she ordered, her voice carrying across Earth's unified defense network. They've had their warning. Now we show them what happens when humanity is pushed too far. The hegemony's flagship launched another transmission, this time in perfect English. Your resistance is unprecedented, but ultimately futile. We have encountered species who manipulated quantum fields before. They too believed they could deny the inevitable. They too were wrong. Sarah smiled grimly. Maya, how long until their countermeasures fully stabilize their space? 10 minutes, maybe less. They're learning faster than we anticipated. Then let's not give them time to learn. Sarah opened a channel to the Quantum Forge. Director FAM, execute Protocol Omega. Throughout the solar system, Project Lighthouse's satellites began to pulse with new energy. But instead of manipulating space around the hegemony fleet, they created a complex web of quantum tunnels, pathways where space itself folded in ways that even the hegemony's advanced sensors couldn't predict. Earth's defense fleet, previously hidden behind Mars and in the asteroid belt, emerged through these tunnels simultaneously, appearing at impossible angles around the alien armada. Each human ship was small compared to the hegemony's vessels, but they moved with perfect precision through the quantum-shifted space, their crews trained to fight in physics that no longer played by normal rules. Impossible, the hegemony transmitted. Your ships cannot. You do not possess this level of control. You assumed we would fight conventionally, Sarah replied. That we would rely on brute force and superior technology. But humanity has never won its greatest battles through superiority. We win because we adapt. We win because we refuse to accept limitations. The battle erupted across Earth's orbit. The hegemony's massive ships fired gravity weapons that twisted harmlessly through quantum tunnels, while Earth's smaller vessels struck from angles that shouldn't exist, their conventional weapons enhanced by the unpredictable physics of Project Lighthouse's influence. Their countermeasures are failing, Maya reported. They can't maintain stable space-time and fight simultaneously. Their technology relies too heavily on predictable physics. In the chaos of battle, Sarah noticed something unexpected. The hegemony fleet was not fighting with its full strength. Their attacks seemed almost cautious, as if they were testing, probing, trying to understand rather than overwhelm. Commander, Dr. Walsh's voice cut through the tactical chatter. I've finished analyzing their battle patterns. They're not trying to destroy us. They're studying us. Sarah's eyes narrowed. Explain. Their attacks are too precise, too measured. They're systematically testing our capabilities, our responses, our limits. This isn't an invasion, it's an evaluation. The realization hit Sarah like a physical force. The hegemony hadn't encountered a species like humanity before, one that could so fundamentally alter the rules of engagement. Their standard protocol of immediate submission or destruction had been disrupted by something new: curiosity. All units, hold position, Sarah commanded. She opened a direct channel to the hegemony flagship. You're not here to conquer us, are you? Not anymore. You want to understand us. The response came after a long pause. Your species is anomalous. You lack the technology to traverse galaxies, yet you bend reality itself to your will. You have no unified government, yet you fight as one. You face a superior force not with fear, but with innovation. You are interesting. We're human, Sarah replied simply. We've spent our entire history doing what others claimed was impossible. Did you really think we would stop just because you arrived with bigger ships? The massive flagship shifted, its crystalline surface reflecting Earth's light in patterns that seemed almost thoughtful. In 10,000 years of expansion, the hegemony has encountered countless species. Some fought with technology. Some fought with numbers. Some fought with desperation. But none fought by changing the nature of reality itself. The alien fleet began to withdraw, their weapons powering down. Your species requires further observation. The hegemony must reconsider its approach. Sarah allowed herself to breathe, but kept Project Lighthouse at full power. Does this mean Earth is safe? It means, the hegemony responded, that you have done what no species has done in 10 millennia. You have made the hegemony question its assumptions. This changes everything. Legacy of Earth. 1 year after the hegemony's withdrawal, Commander Sarah Chen stood before the newly constructed Galactic Embassy in Geneva, watching alien ships peacefully descend through Earth's atmosphere. But these weren't the massive warships of the hegemony. They were diplomatic vessels from dozens of species, all seeking audience with the civilization that had done the impossible. Still feels surreal, doesn't it? Maya Pham appeared beside her, no longer a hologram but in person. The director of the Quantum Forge had become Earth's leading expert in cross-species technological exchange. A year ago, we were preparing for extinction. Now we're hosting the largest diplomatic gathering in galactic history. Sarah nodded, her neural interface quietly logging the arrival of each alien delegation. The hegemony's report about Earth spread faster than we anticipated. Every independent species in the galaxy wants to know about the humans who rewrote physics. Inside the embassy's grand hall, representatives from Earth's united governments prepared to receive their guests. The hegemony's attempted invasion had done what centuries of human history couldn't. It had truly unified humanity under a single purpose, not through force or fear, but through the shared recognition of their species' unique potential. Latest report from the quantum satellites, Maya said, reviewing data through her augmented vision. 3 more civilizations have successfully replicated Project Lighthouse technology. The hegemony's grip on the galaxy is weakening by the day. That had been the most unexpected consequence of their encounter. The hegemony's power had always relied on technological superiority, their ability to overwhelm and assimilate any civilization they encountered. But humanity had demonstrated that superior technology wasn't enough. When the report of Earth's defense spread, other species began to question, to innovate, to look for their own ways to change the rules. Commander Chen. A familiar transmission caught her attention. The same voice that had once demanded Earth's submission. The hegemony's diplomatic delegation requests permission to land. Sarah smiled slightly. Permission granted. She turned to Maya, ready to show them what else we've been working on. The director's eyes gleamed. In the year since first contact, humanity hadn't stood still. Project Lighthouse had been just the beginning. With access to the hegemony's vast scientific database, offered as part of their new diplomatic relationship, Earth's scientists had made technological leaps that would have taken centuries otherwise. But they didn't simply copy alien technology. True to human nature, they questioned it, improved it, combined it with their own innovations in ways that even the hegemony hadn't considered possible. The quantum tunnels that had once been used for defense now formed the backbone of a new faster-than-light travel network, allowing ships to traverse the galaxy through corridors of altered spacetime. The hegemony's delegation emerged from their ship, their crystalline environmental suits catching the sunlight. Their leader, a being who introduced themselves as Observer Prime, approached Sarah directly. Commander Chen, they said, their translated voice carrying a note of what might have been respect. Your species continues to surprise us. When we first detected your civilization, we saw only another primitive world to be absorbed into the greater whole. We were incorrect. Sarah gestured toward the embassy entrance, where representatives from dozens of species were gathering. The galaxy is changing, Observer Prime. The age of conquest is ending. Humanity may be young, but we've learned that true strength comes not from domination, but from innovation, adaptation, and cooperation. Indeed, the Observer Prime's crystalline surface rippled in what Sarah had learned was a sign of deep thought. The hegemony has ruled through power for 10,000 years. Perhaps it is time for us to learn new ways. As they entered the embassy, Sarah's neural interface displayed a message from Earth's Unified Defense Command. More ships had been detected at the edge of the solar system, refugees from distant worlds, seeking asylum from oppressive regimes. Word had spread across the galaxy that Earth was different, that humans had found a way to resist the irresistible. "We accept," Sarah transmitted back, then turned to address the gathered diplomats. "Representatives of the galaxy, welcome to Earth. A year ago, we stood alone against what we thought was our extinction. Today, we stand together at the dawn of a new era. Humanity's gift to the galaxy isn't just our technology or our innovations. It's the reminder that the impossible is only impossible until someone decides to try." The Grand Hall hummed with translated conversations as species that had never dreamed of cooperation began to share ideas, to question old assumptions, to imagine new possibilities. Earth had become more than just another world in the vast expanse of space. It had become a symbol of change, a beacon of innovation, a testament to the power of refusing to accept limitations. And as Sarah Chen looked out over the gathering of galactic civilization, she understood that humanity's true legacy wouldn't be the technology they created or the battles they won. It would be the moment they showed the galaxy that even the oldest, most powerful empire could be challenged by those who dared to rewrite the rules of reality itself. The age of the hegemony was ending. The age of innovation, of cooperation, of unlimited possibility was just beginning. And it had started with a single message, delivered by a species that refused to submit. Stay away from Earth. The fall of the Valorans. The Valorans never saw it coming. Their homeworld, Valora Prime, had been a beacon of peace and prosperity in the Orion Arm for millennia. Its gleaming cities and lush forests were testaments to the harmony between technology and nature that the Valorans had perfected over countless generations. But on that fateful day, the sky turned red with fire, and the peace they had known for so long shattered like glass. Admiral Zara Voss stood on the bridge of the VSS Starbreaker, her mandibles clicking in frustration as she watched the enemy ships descend upon her world. The Valorans' fleet, once considered one of the most formidable in the galaxy, now seemed pitiful in comparison to the overwhelming force arrayed against them. "Status report," Zora barked, her compound eyes scanning the tactical displays that surrounded her. Her second-in-command, Commander Krull, responded with a grim tone. "The orbital defense grid is at 30% capacity and falling fast. Ground-based ion cannons are engaging." But he paused, his antennae drooping. "They're barely making a dent, Admiral." Zara's exoskeleton creaked as she clenched her fists. This was no mere border skirmish or pirate raid. This was a full-scale invasion, and the Valorans were woefully unprepared. As the battle raged on, Zora's mind raced through their options. The Galactic Council, that august body of species that was supposed to maintain peace and order in the galaxy, had promised aid. But where were they now, when the Valorans needed them most? "Admiral," Krull's voice cut through her thoughts. "We're receiving a transmission from the surface. It's the High Chancellor." Zara nodded, and the holographic image of High Chancellor Vex materialized before her. The usually regal leader of the Valoran people looked haggard, his normally vibrant blue carapace now a dull gray. "Admiral Voss," Vex began, his voice trembling. "The situation on the ground is dire. Our cities are falling one by one. I fear this may be the end of our people." Zara felt a cold dread settle in her thorax. "High Chancellor, we still have ships. We can evacuate as many as we can. Find a new home." Vex cut her off with a wave of his upper limb. "No, Admiral. Our people will stand and fight to the last. But there is something you must do." He leaned closer to the camera, his compound eyes glistening with what Zara realized were tears. You must go to Earth. The request caught Zara off guard. Earth, the home of humanity, was a relatively new player on the galactic stage. The Valorans had formed an alliance with them just a few decades ago, finding kindred spirits in the curious and adaptable species. Earth? Zara questioned. But High Chancellor, surely the Galactic Council. The Council has abandoned us. Vex spat, bitterness evident in his voice. They fear our attackers more than they value our alliance. But humans are different. They understand loyalty. Admiral, go to them. Tell them what has happened here, and... He paused, composing himself, and asked them to remember us. The communication cut off abruptly, leaving Zara staring at empty space. Around her, the bridge crew looked to her for direction, their antennae twitching nervously. Zara straightened her posture, her decision made. Plot a course for the Sol system, she commanded. Maximum speed, and prepare a data package of everything we know about this attack. The humans need to know what they're up against. As the Starbreaker disengaged from the losing battle and prepared to jump to faster-than-light travel, Zara took one last look at her homeworld. The beautiful blue-green orb was now marred by angry red scars of destruction. She silently vowed that this would not be the end of the Valoran people, not if she had anything to say about it. The ship shuddered as it entered FTL, leaving behind the chaos and destruction. Zara knew that the journey to Earth would take time during which her people would be fighting and dying. But she also knew that if there was any hope for the Valorans, it lay with humanity. As the stars streaked by outside the viewports, Zora allowed herself a moment of reflection. The humans were young, brash, and often unpredictable. But they were also fierce, loyal, and possessed an ingenuity that often surprised their older galactic neighbors. If anyone could help the Valorans in their darkest hour, it would be them. "Hold on, my people," Zara whispered to herself as the Starbreaker hurtled through space towards Earth. "Help is coming." Little did Admiral Zara Voss know that her arrival on Earth would set in motion a chain of events that would shake the very foundations of the galaxy. The humans, with their unique blend of compassion and fury, were about to remind the Galactic Council and the mysterious attackers why it was never wise to underestimate the determination of a species fighting for its friends. As the Starbreaker raced towards Earth, carrying with it the last hope of the Valoran people, the stage was set for a conflict that would redefine the balance of power in the galaxy. The fall of the Valorans was just the beginning. The rise of humanity was about to begin. Earth's decision. The Sol system buzzed with activity as news of the Valorans' plight spread like wildfire. Admiral Zara Voss's arrival in Earth orbit had set off a chain reaction that reverberated through every level of human society. From the highest echelons of government to the bustling streets of megacities, humanity grappled with the implications of their allies' fall. In the heart of New Geneva, the United Earth government convened an emergency session. The circular chamber, usually a place of measured debate and careful diplomacy, now crackled with tension and urgency. At the center stood Fleet Admiral Helena Chen, her weathered face a mask of determination as she addressed the assembled representatives. "Ladies and gentlemen," Chen began, her voice carrying the weight of countless battles, "the situation is clear. The Valorans, our allies and friends, have been betrayed by the very institution that was meant to protect them. The Galactic Council's inaction is not just a failure of duty, it's a direct threat to humanity's future in this galaxy." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Some nodded in agreement, while others shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The implications of Chen's words were not lost on anyone present. "Admiral," a representative from the African Union spoke up, "while the plight of the Valorans is tragic, surely we must consider the risks of direct intervention. The Galactic Council." "The Galactic Council," Chen cut in, her eyes flashing, "has shown its true colors. They abandoned the Valorans to their fate. What's to stop them from doing the same to us when our time comes?" Silence fell over the chamber as the weight of her words sank in. It was broken by the calm, measured voice of Dr. Aisha Patel, Earth's foremost xenoanthropologist. "If I may," she said, rising from her seat, "I'd like to remind everyone of something crucial. The Valorans were among the first to welcome us into the galactic community. When others saw us as upstarts or potential threats, the Valorans saw potential allies. They shared knowledge, resources, and friendship. We owe them more than just our sympathy." Her words seemed to resonate with many in the chamber. Heads nodded, and a renewed sense of purpose filled the air. But it was the next speaker who would truly galvanize the assembly. Captain Marcus Jansen, a decorated veteran of the Proxima Centauri conflict, stepped forward. His cybernetic eye whirred as he surveyed the room. "I've fought alongside Valoran troops," he said, his voice gruff but clear. "I've seen their bravery, their dedication. Hell, I owe my life to a Valoran medic who pulled me out of a collapsing bunker. Are we really going to sit here and debate while an entire civilization, our friends, are being wiped out?" A chorus of voices rose in agreement, but it was quickly tempered by the pragmatic concerns of others. Resources, military readiness, potential retaliation from the Council, or the unknown aggressors, all were valid points that couldn't be ignored. As the debate raged on, a message flashed across the chamber's main display. It was from the Starbreaker, still in orbit. Admiral Zara Voss had transmitted a complete data package on the attack on Valora Prime. The chamber fell silent as footage of the devastation played out before them. Cities reduced to rubble, forests burned to ash, and through it all, the indomitable spirit of the Valoran people as they fought against impossible odds. The final image was of High Chancellor Vex, his last transmission to the Starbreaker before communications were cut off. "Remember us," his words echoed through the chamber, "and know that we believed in you until the end." The silence that followed was deafening. It was broken by Fleet Admiral Chen, who stepped forward once more. "We have a choice to make," she said, her voice steady and resolved. "We can hide behind protocol and political maneuvering, or we can stand up for what's right. The Valorans need us, and one day we might need them. I say we act. Now." The chamber erupted in a cacophony of voices, but it was clear that the tide had turned. One by one, representatives stood, voicing their support for immediate action. It wasn't unanimous, but it was enough. As the session concluded, orders were already being transmitted across the Sol system. Shipyards kicked into overdrive, weapons factories ramped up production, and military personnel were recalled from leave. Earth was going to war. Aboard the orbital defense platform Olympus, Captain Layla Ortiz watched as the first wave of reinforcements arrived from Mars and the Jovian moons. Her comm chirped with a priority message. She was being reassigned to lead a task force. Their mission: to rendezvous with the Starbreaker and push deep into Valoran space. As Layla prepared to board her new command, the UES Thunderchild, she caught sight of Earth through a viewport. The blue marble hung there, peaceful and serene, blissfully unaware of the storm that was about to engulf the galaxy. "I hope we're ready for this," she muttered to herself as she shouldered her duffel bag. A gruff voice responded from behind her. "Ready or not, it's coming." It was Captain Jansen, his cybernetic eye glowing faintly in the dim light of the corridor. "The real question is, are they ready for us?" Layla allowed herself a small smile. "I guess we're about to find out." As the two officers made their way to the Thunderchild, the gears of Earth's war machine were spinning up to full speed. Diplomats were already en route to neutral systems, seeking allies and support. Intelligence operatives were being inserted deep into Council space, probing for weaknesses and gathering crucial information. And in laboratories across the planet, human scientists pored over the Valoran data, seeking to understand the enemy's capabilities and develop countermeasures. Humanity's greatest strength had always been its ability to adapt, to innovate in the face of adversity. Now that ingenuity would be put to the ultimate test, the decision had been made. Earth would not stand idly by while its allies were destroyed. The Galactic Council had made a grave miscalculation in assuming humanity would be too cautious, too afraid to act. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. As the Thunderchild and its task force prepared to depart, a message was broadcast across all frequencies, in every language spoken across human space. To all citizens of Earth and her colonies, we stand at a crossroads. Our allies, the Valorans, face extinction. The Galactic Council has abandoned them. We will not. Today, we go to war not just for the Valorans, but for every species that values freedom and justice. The road ahead will be hard, but we do not walk it alone. Remember the Valorans. Remember why we fight. For Earth, for our allies, for the future of the galaxy itself. We go now to make history. The message ended, and across the Sol system, humanity held its collective breath. The die was cast. The next chapter in galactic history was about to be written, and Earth was determined to be the author. Preparing for war. The Sol system had become a hive of frenetic activity. Shipyards that once produced civilian vessels now churned out warships at an unprecedented rate. The asteroid belt, usually a place of methodical mining operations, now bristled with newly constructed defense platforms and munitions factories. Earth was gearing up for a conflict unlike any it had faced before. At the heart of this controlled chaos stood Admiral Helena Chen, her steely gaze fixed on the holographic display of the Milky Way. Red markers indicated the last known position of the Valoran homeworld and the estimated locations of enemy forces. Blue markers showed the gathering strength of Earth's fleet and its allies. Status report, Chen barked, not taking her eyes off the display. Colonel Aisha Patel, the xenanthropologist turned military advisor, stepped forward. Admiral, our diplomats have made significant progress. The Arcturians have pledged their support, and the Sirius Concordat is considering our proposal. However, the Proxima colonies are still hesitant. Chen nodded, unsurprised. The Proxima colonists had always been a stubborn bunch, fiercely independent. And our tech. This time, it was Dr. Elias Reeves, head of Earth's Advanced Weapons Division, who answered. We've made breakthroughs, Admiral. The data from the Valorans' last stand has been invaluable. We've developed countermeasures for their energy weapons and improved our shield technology. But he hesitated. Spit it out, Reeves, Chen said, finally turning to face him. We're still outgunned, Admiral. Their tech is centuries ahead of ours in some areas. We can narrow the gap, but we can't close it entirely. Not in time. Chen's expression hardened. Then we'll have to be smarter, more creative. It's what humans do best. She turned back to the display. What's the status of Operation Thunderbolt? Captain Marcus Jansen, his cybernetic eye whirring as it focused, stepped up to the holographic controls. The display shifted, showing a detailed view of a massive space station near Jupiter. The Thunderchild and its task force are nearly ready, Admiral. Captain Ortiz reports that final systems checks are underway. They'll be ready to jump within 48 hours. Chen nodded approvingly. Good. They'll be our vanguard. Hit hard, hit fast, and gather as much intel as they can before the main fleet arrives. As the briefing continued, the scene shifted to the depths of Earth's oceans. In a secret facility beneath the Pacific, a team of scientists and engineers worked tirelessly on a project that could turn the tide of the war. Dr. Yuki Tanaka wiped sweat from her brow as she made final adjustments to the device in front of her. It looked innocuous enough. A sphere about the size of a basketball, covered in intricate circuitry. Dr. Tanaka, a voice called from across the lab. It was her colleague, Dr. Mohammed Al-Fayed. The simulations are complete. It works, theoretically. Yuki allowed herself a small smile. Theoretically is better than nothing. Let's hope the Nexus device lives up to its potential when we need it most. Back in space, aboard the UES Thunderchild, Captain Layla Ortiz stood on the bridge, overseeing final preparations. The ship hummed with energy, both from its advanced systems and from the palpable anticipation of its crew. "Captain," her XO reported, "all systems are green." The task force reports ready status across the board. Layla nodded, her hand unconsciously touching the Valoran medallion she wore around her neck, a gift from a friend she hoped was still alive. "Send word to Fleet Command. Thunderchild Task Forces go for Operation Thunderbolt." As the Thunderchild and its escorts prepared to make the jump to Valoran space, other elements of Earth's strategy were falling into place. In the shadowy world of intelligence operations, human agents were already infiltrating key systems across the galaxy. Their mission: to sow discord among Earth's enemies and gather crucial information that could give humanity an edge in the coming conflict. One such agent, codenamed Whisper, crouched in the maintenance ducts of a Galactic Council outpost on the edge of known space. Her cybernetic implants allowed her to interface directly with the outpost's systems, siphoning off data that could prove vital to Earth's war effort. "Jackpot," she whispered as she uncovered files detailing the Council's emergency protocols and chain of command. This information could help Earth predict the Council's moves and exploit its weaknesses. Meanwhile, in laboratories and think tanks across human space, the best and brightest minds worked around the clock to develop new technologies and strategies. They knew that humanity's survival depended on innovation, on finding ways to overcome their technological disadvantages. In one such lab, a young prodigy named Alex Chen, no relation to the Admiral, had just made a breakthrough in quantum entanglement communication. If successful, it could allow Earth's forces to coordinate across vast distances without fear of interception. "It works," Alex exclaimed, their eyes wide with excitement as the test results came in. "We can transmit instantly, regardless of distance. This could change everything." Their supervisor, Dr. Emika Okafor, smiled proudly. "Excellent work, Alex. I'll inform Admiral Chen immediately. This could give our forces a critical advantage in coordinating our attacks." As these preparations continued, the people of Earth watched and waited. In cities and colonies across human space, citizens did what they could to support the war effort. Factories were retooled to produce military equipment, volunteers signed up for service in droves, and a sense of unity pervaded human society like never before. In a public address, the President of the United Earth Government spoke to this spirit of solidarity. "My fellow citizens, we stand at the precipice of history. The challenges ahead are great, but so is our resolve. We go to war not for conquest or glory, but for the defense of our allies and the principles we hold dear. Every one of you has a role to play in this effort. Whether you're a soldier on the front lines, a scientist in the lab, or a worker in the factories, know that your contributions are vital. Together, we will show the galaxy the true strength of humanity." The speech was met with thunderous applause and renewed determination across human space. Back aboard the Thunderchild, Captain Ortiz received the final authorization from Fleet Command. She took a deep breath, looking around at her crew, humans from all walks of life, united in purpose. "All hands, this is the captain speaking. We are about to embark on the most important mission in human history. Our goal is clear: to strike fast and hard, to gather intelligence, and to pave the way for the liberation of our Valoran allies. Some of us may not return, but know that our actions today will echo through history. For Earth, for the Valorans, for all those who stand against tyranny. Let's show them what humanity is made of." With that, she gave the order. The Thunderchild and its task force engaged their FTL drives, disappearing in a flash of light. They were the tip of the spear, the vanguard of humanity's response to a threat that sought to reshape the galaxy. As they hurtled through subspace towards Valoran territory, none aboard could know the full scope of the conflict they were about to ignite. But they went forward with determination, carrying with them the hopes of Earth and the last vestiges of Valoran civilization. The first battle of the war was about to begin, and with it, a new chapter in galactic history would be written, one in which humanity would prove that it was a force to be reckoned with. a young species ready to challenge the established order of the cosmos. The first strike. The void of space erupted in a dazzling display of light as the Thunderchild and its task force dropped out of FTL on the outskirts of the Valoran system. Captain Layla Ortiz's eyes narrowed as she took in the scene before her. The system, once a beacon of peace and prosperity, now bore the scars of invasion. Status report. Ortiz commanded, her voice steady despite the tension that gripped her. Her tactical officer, Lieutenant Ravi Sharma, responded immediately. Multiple enemy signatures detected, Captain. Looks like they've set up a perimeter around Valora Prime. No sign they've detected us yet. Ortiz nodded. The element of surprise was crucial to their plan. Com, send the encoded burst transmission to Fleet Command. Let them know we've arrived and are proceeding with Operation Thunderbolt. As the message was sent via the newly developed quantum entanglement communicator, Ortiz turned to her XO. Commander Sarah Chen, deploy the stealth drones. I want eyes on every inch of this system. Within moments, a swarm of nearly invisible drones detached from the human ships, their advanced cloaking technology rendering them virtually undetectable. As data began streaming back, the true extent of the situation became clear. The enemy forces, a coalition of species loyal to the Galactic Council, had established a formidable presence in the system. Their ships, sleek and powered by technology centuries ahead of Earth's, patrolled in precise formations. On Valora Prime itself, massive energy signatures indicated the presence of planetary defense systems far more advanced than anything humanity had encountered before. But amidst the grim data, there was a glimmer of hope. The drones detected faint signals emanating from the surface of Valora Prime, signs that pockets of Valoran resistance still held out against the invaders. Ortiz's jaw set with determination. All right, people. We've trained for this. Execute Phase 1 of Operation Thunderbolt. At her command, the task force sprang into action. The UES Shadow Dancer, a state-of-the-art electronic warfare ship, began broadcasting a complex series of signals designed to confuse and disorient enemy sensors. Simultaneously, a squadron of stealth fighters launched from the Thunderchild's base, their mission to take out key enemy communication relays. As chaos began to spread through the enemy fleet, Ortiz gave her next order. All ships, execute microjumps to designated coordinates. Weapons free. Hit them hard and fast. The human fleet blinked out of existence, only to reappear moments later in the midst of the enemy formation. The space around Valora Prime erupted in a furious exchange of fire. Aboard the Thunderchild, Ortiz watched as her crew worked with practiced efficiency. Earth's ships, while technologically outmatched, moved with an agility and unpredictability that caught their opponents off guard. Mom, Lieutenant Sharma called out. Enemy flagship identified. They're trying to coordinate a counterattack. Ortiz's eyes gleamed. Perfect. Helm, set course for the flagship. Weapons, prepare to fire the Nexus device. The Thunderchild surged forward, its advanced point defense systems working overtime to ward off enemy fire. As they closed in on the massive enemy flagship, Ortiz felt a moment of trepidation. The Nexus device was untested in actual combat. If it failed, in range, Captain, Sharma reported. Ortiz took a deep breath. Fire. A small, unassuming projectile launched from the Thunderchild, streaking towards the enemy flagship. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, in a spectacular display of scientific achievement, a localized field of distorted spacetime enveloped the enemy ship. Its shields flickered and died, its weapons fell silent, and its engines sputtered to a halt. Direct hit, Sharma exclaimed. Enemy flagship is disabled. A cheer went up on the bridge, but Ortiz knew the battle was far from over. All ships, concentrate fire on disabled targets. Boarding teams, prepare for insertion. As the human fleet pressed its advantage, a new complication arose. Lieutenant Sharma's voice cut through the chaos of battle. Captain, we're detecting a massive energy buildup on the planet's surface. It looks like they're powering up some kind of superweapon. Ortiz's mind raced. Their intel hadn't mentioned anything like this. She made a split-second decision. Divert all available power to forward shields. Helm, take us in. We're going to breach their atmosphere. The Thunderchild plunged towards Valora Prime, its hull groaning under the stress of atmospheric entry. On the surface, a massive cannon of alien design swiveled to track them, energy crackling around its barrel. Braced for impact, Ortiz shouted as the weapon fired. The blast struck the Thunderchild head-on, but thanks to the reinforced shields, the ship held together. As they emerged from the fireball, Ortiz saw their opportunity. There, target that power relay station. Fire everything we've got. The Thunderchild's weapons blazed, striking the vulnerable power station. In a chain reaction of explosions, the superweapon's energy source was cut off, rendering it useless. As the dust settled, Ortiz allowed herself a small smile. They had struck a significant blow, but the war was far from over. Status report on the Valoran resistance. Commander Chen responded. We're picking up transmissions, Captain. They're requesting immediate assistance. Sending coordinates now. Ortiz nodded grimly. Inform the fleet. We're going in to extract as many Valorans as we can. This is what we came here for. As the Thunderchild and its task force began landing operations on Valora Prime, the true challenge of their mission became clear. They weren't just fighting an enemy. They were racing against time to save as much of Valoran civilization as possible. On the planet's surface, human marines in advanced combat suits pushed through the ruins of once great Valoran cities. They fought house to house, street to street, against the occupying forces. The Valoran resistance, emboldened by the arrival of their human allies, fought with renewed vigor. In the midst of the chaos, a young human corporal named Zach Torres found himself face to face with a group of Valoran civilians, huddled in the remains of what had once been a cultural center. Among them was a Valoran elder, his carapace scared, and his eyes dim with exhaustion. You came, the elder said, his voice filled with disbelief and hope. Zach nodded, extending a hand to help the elder up. We made a promise. Earth doesn't abandon its friends. As human dropships descended to evacuate the Valoran survivors, the battle in orbit continued to rage. The enemy, recovering from the initial shock of the human assault, began to rally its forces. Back on the Thunderchild, now hovering in low orbit to coordinate the evacuation, Captain Ortiz received a priority transmission from Fleet Admiral Chen. Captain, Chen's holographic image flickered to life on the bridge. Your attack has thrown the enemy into disarray, but our long-range sensors show massive reinforcements heading your way. You've done well, but now it's time to execute the next phase of our plan. Get our people, and as many Valorans as you can out of there. The main fleet is on its way. Ortiz acknowledged the order, a mix of pride and frustration in her voice. They had struck a mighty blow, but the war was only beginning. As she gave the orders to begin their withdrawal, she looked out at the battered but beautiful world of Valora Prime. We'll be back, she promised quietly. And next time, we're taking back your world for good. The Thunderchild's engines flared to life as it began its ascent, laden with rescued Valorans and carrying the hopes of two civilizations. Behind them, the first battle of the war drew to a close, but the conflict that would reshape the galaxy was just beginning. As they prepared to jump back to human space, Ortiz addressed her crew one last time. Today, we showed the galaxy what humanity is capable of. We struck a blow for our allies and proved that Earth is a force to be reckoned with. But our greatest challenges lie ahead. Rest up, repair, and be ready, because we're coming back. And next time, we're bringing the full might of Earth with us. With that, the Thunderchild and its task force engaged their FTL drives, disappearing in a flash of light. They left behind a Valoran system forever changed, and a galactic council that was just beginning to realize the true nature of the foe they had awakened. The first strike had been made. Now, the real war would begin. Turning the tide. The war that began with the fall of Valora Prime had raged across the galaxy for months. Star systems once known for their beauty and tranquility now bore the scars of relentless conflict. The initial human strikes, while impressive, had only been the opening salvo in a grueling campaign that tested the limits of Earth's resolve and ingenuity. Admiral Helena Chen stood before the holographic war table in the heart of Earth's Central Command, her face etched with the weariness of countless sleepless nights and difficult decisions. Around her, a diverse team of human and Valoran strategists pored over the latest intelligence reports. "Status update," Chen demanded, her voice carrying the weight of humanity's hopes. Colonel Aisha Patel stepped forward, her usual academic demeanor replaced by the sharp focus of a wartime analyst. "Admiral, our latest offensive has successfully liberated 3 key systems in the Orion Spur. The Arcturian fleets have linked up with our forces in the Cygnus Arm, and the Sirius Concordat has finally committed their full strength to our cause." Chen nodded, allowing herself a small smile. The tide was turning, slowly but surely. Earth's diplomats had worked tirelessly to build a coalition of species who saw the Galactic Council's actions for what they were: tyranny masquerading as order. "And what of Project Phoenix?" Chen asked, turning to Dr. Elias Reeves. The scientist's eyes gleamed with excitement. "It's ready, Admiral. The combination of Valoran bioengineering and human quantum mechanics has yielded results beyond our wildest expectations. If this works—" "It has to work," Chen interrupted. "It's time to end this war." As the final preparations for humanity's masterstroke were put into motion, the scene shifted to the front lines. The UEA's Thunderchild, battle-scared but unbroken, led a massive fleet towards the heart of Galactic Council space. At its helm, Captain Layla Ortiz stood resolute, the weight of command tempered by months of hard-fought victories and bitter losses. "All ships, report in," Ortiz commanded, her voice steady despite the gravity of their mission. One by one, the captains of Earth's fleet sounded off. Among them were voices from a dozen different species, former council members who had seen the truth and chosen to stand with humanity against the corruption at the galaxy's core. As the fleet approached its target, a massive space station that served as the council's seat of power, they were met by an armada that dwarfed their own. Council ships of every size and configuration formed a seemingly impenetrable wall between the Allies and their objective. "This is it," Ortiz breathed, more to herself than to her crew. "All ships, execute Battle Plan Omega. May fortune favor the bold." What followed was a battle that would be remembered for centuries to come. Human ingenuity clashed with Council technology in a spectacular display of tactical brilliance and raw firepower. The Thunderchild and its escorts danced through enemy formations, their movements unpredictable and deadly. Exotic weapons fire lit up the void as ships on both sides fell to the relentless assault. In the midst of the chaos, a small, nondescript vessel slipped through the Council's defenses. Aboard was a joint team of human and Valoran specialists, led by none other than Dr. Yuki Tanaka and her Valoran counterpart, Chief Scientist Zexera. Their mission: to deploy Project Phoenix at the heart of the Council's power. As they worked feverishly to set up the device, the battle outside reached a fever pitch. The Council, realizing too late the true nature of the threat, began to concentrate its fire on the station itself, willing to destroy their own seat of power rather than let it fall into enemy hands. "We're out of time," Zexera chittered, his mandibles clicking in agitation. Yuki's hands flew over the controls of Project Phoenix, her face a mask of concentration. Just a few more seconds. Outside, the Thunderchild took a devastating hit, its shields failing as it moved to protect the station from the Council's desperate assault. Captain Ortiz gritted her teeth, knowing that the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. "Hull breach on decks 5 through 8, her XO reported. "We can't take much more of this." Ortiz opened her mouth to respond, but her words were cut short as a blinding light erupted from the heart of the council station. For a moment, it seemed as if time itself had stopped. Then, like a wave of pure energy, something burst forth from the station, washing over ships of both sides indiscriminately. As the light faded, an eerie silence fell over the battlefield. Ortiz blinked, trying to clear the spots from her vision. Status report. What just happened? Her tactical officer's voice was filled with awe. Captain, I don't believe it. All council ships have gone dark. Their weapons, engines, everything. It's just stopped. Project Phoenix, the culmination of human and Valoran science, had worked beyond their wildest dreams. The device had unleashed a targeted electromagnetic pulse of unprecedented power, coupled with a bioengineered virus that specifically targeted and neutralized council technology. In one fell swoop, the seemingly invincible Galactic Council Armada had been rendered impotent. As the Allies moved to secure the Council station and the disabled enemy ships, the true impact of their victory began to sink in. This wasn't just the end of a war, it was the dawn of a new era for the galaxy. In the days and weeks that followed, the old order crumbled. With their technology neutralized and their lies exposed, the corrupt leaders of the Galactic Council were brought to justice. In their place, a new galactic alliance began to take shape, one founded on the principles of mutual respect, cooperation, and the recognition that diversity was a strength, not a weakness to be feared. Humanity, once seen as upstarts barely worth noticing, now stood at the forefront of this new alliance. Their creativity, adaptability, and unwavering determination had not only saved their Valoran allies, but had reshaped the very fabric of galactic society. On a rebuilt Valora Prime, now a symbol of resilience and renewal, representatives from across the galaxy gathered to sign the charter of the new Galactic Federation. Admiral Helena Chen, now serving as Earth's ambassador, stood alongside the restored Valoran High Chancellor Vex. As Chen put her signature to the document, sealing humanity's commitment to this new era of cooperation, she couldn't help but reflect on the long, hard road that had brought them to this point. "You know," Vex said softly, his compound eyes gleaming with something that looked suspiciously like pride. "When we first encountered your species, many doubted you would ever be ready for the complexities of galactic politics. I think it's safe to say you've proven them wrong." Chen allowed herself a small chuckle. "We humans have a saying, Chancellor. Necessity is the mother of invention. You needed us, and we rose to the challenge. That's what friends do." As the ceremony concluded and the assembled dignitaries began to disperse, Chen's gaze was drawn to the stars visible through the Grand Hall's transparent dome. Out there, countless worlds and species were coming to terms with this new reality, a galaxy where cooperation trumped conquest, where diversity was celebrated rather than feared. The road ahead would not be easy. Old hatreds and prejudices would not disappear overnight, but for the first time in millennia, there was hope for a truly united galaxy. A young Valoran approached Chen, its carapace still bearing the marks of recent battles. "Ambassador," it said, mandibles clicking in what Chen had learned was a gesture of respect. "I was wondering, what does humanity plan to do now? You've helped reshape the galaxy. Surely you must have great ambitions." Chen considered the question for a moment before responding. "Our greatest ambition, young one, is to explore, to learn, and to grow. We humans are curious by nature. This vast galaxy, with all its wonders and challenges, is the greatest adventure we could ask for, and we're honored to embark on that adventure alongside friends like the Valorans." As Chen turned to leave, she caught sight of Captain Ortiz and her crew, now hailed as heroes across a dozen worlds. They stood tall, their faces a mixture of pride and wonder at how far they had come. In that moment, Helena Chen knew that whatever challenges the future might hold, humanity was ready to face them. They had proven their worth not through conquest or domination, but through courage, innovation, and an unshakable loyalty to their allies. The galaxy would never be the same. And humanity, once a small overlooked species on a tiny blue planet, had taken its place among the stars, not as conquerors, but as friends, protectors, and pioneers of a brighter future for all. As the new Galactic Federation took its first steps into an uncertain but hopeful future, one thing was clear: the spirit of humanity, its resilience, its creativity, its unwavering determination, would be a guiding light for generations to come. The story of how Earth avenged the Valorans and reshaped the galaxy would be told and retold across countless worlds. It would inspire future generations to reach for the stars, to stand up for what's right, and to never underestimate the power of friendship and alliance in the face of overwhelming odds. For in the end, it was not superior technology or overwhelming force that had turned the tide. It was the uniquely human qualities of adaptability, ingenuity, and unbreakable spirit that had changed the course of galactic history. And as the stars twinkled in the night sky of 1,000 worlds, the message was clear: humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, and the universe would never be the same again.